of educational conversations about current social issues with local and international experts. Make sure you tune in every Saturday on Cool FM from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Bye! Hello, bom dia. Happy Saturday. Mito espero ko po ting umbon si mang whatever that means to you. Mito espero ko to si mang produktibo, si mang chill, si mang contento. Pessoa que enjoying na vakantie, mito espero ko po doing the best at that. Si po spending time in the sun, mito espero ko po cuidando po kuero. We have had many conversations about sunscreen, so mito espero ko sa retain a little information over the essay. Iku, of course, não estou bebendo suficiente água, di nang akita calor. Me digo si ku get jinx it, but it hasn't been too bad. Sa pessoa que está passando roupa tempo para fosse nada sinto que it has been too bad, pero me digo bisa que so far no tá roupa calor ainda, pero el lunes não tem mais calor não chega ainda, so não sabe que dá positivo para o essay. So, pa nung kuta wak weekly announcements ang flyers nang basta sa ako mi abisa ko episode awita na English. So, onde mi vai switch, mi ka karator hena tame kuno sa live riba Facebook e YouTube di Kula Fam, YouTube di Sincerely Carolina, e kubo por wak episode aki riba Kula Fam's website, pero tambe anytime or ko outro momento, se não por wake agora aqui, vou não por escutar agora aqui, vou por wake saki, escutar saki back, riba dia plataforma nang aqui, pero também durante si mango por hanya riba Spotify or Apple Podcast, so do not worry, se não tá hanya chance para escutar episode ave full. Maneira posso sa mi mencionar que luna de julho mi capaz com diferente persona não com incapacidade ou outro anto alguns se vão passar nossa papia com Jean-Marc com persona que tá usa rollstool a trove nossa papia com persona que usa rollstool para nós lo hacer conversação em inglês e nós lo focus riba mi te quer algum tópico não que portanto nós não focus riba não com Jean-Marc pero mi te espera que conversação que tá dando-nos diferente perspectiva riba outra hele na vida onde nós por sim eigenlijk die experiência não correndo não de nós mesma comunidade tem que porta completamente diferente pero também porta hobby similar com nós so me espera que é learning experience so I will be switching now to English as I said, before I continue, I want to say thank you to my awesome sponsors who allow me to talk about whatever I want to talk about. Today we are talking about disabilities and the pride that goes into that and living fulfilling lives. And that's the topic that we want to discuss today. It's living fulfilling lives with an impairment and the disability caused by societal norms and the way community standards have kind of imposed, basically challenges into lives of many people. Sometimes we think of it as a minority, but not necessarily. So thank you to Total, to La Roche-Posay, and to Gain for providing me this space, and to Kula Fam, of course, to talk about these very important conversations. Also, shout out to Kula Fam, who now has a ramp, so we have been also thinking about how we work on expanding accessibility in everyday life. So thank you for that. So without further ado, I will let Minouche, who is our guest of today, our main guest, because we also have a surprise guest, who is Dairon, but I'll let him introduce himself in a little bit. But we'll start with Minouche. Tell us who you are and why you're here today.
Hi, my name is Minouche Ruiz. I'm 22 years old, and I'm here to talk about my day-to-day life with a disability.
So at the beginning I said people generally have like a very short introduction of themselves, but we will come back to you, Minouche, for a further introduction. Darren, can you tell us who you are and why you are here today?
Yes, good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. My name is Dairon Warlaman. I'm 23 years old, and I'm here to give Minouche moral support.
Oh my God, I love how you said that. You are the moral support person today. All right, so Minouche, can you tell us a little bit about your wheelchair use? Why do you use a wheelchair? And you talked a little bit about having an extensive medical background that you kind of had to like refresh your mind on, but maybe tell us a little bit just so we understand you from that perspective a little bit more.
I have SMA, which is short for spinal muscular atrophy, which in short, it basically means that my muscles are being off. And I think I found this out when I was 5.
When you were 5, okay. And what does it mean to find out when you were 5? Was it something that your parents noticed, your school noticed? Like, what does it mean to find out?
Well, I didn't really understand that I had it.
Okay.
You know, it was my normal.
Okay.
So it was more like, why are these kids like that, and why am I?
Okay.
You know, so it was,
okay.
For me, it was my normal. But we found it took us quite a while to get to that conclusion.
Okay.
That I had asthma. It started when I was like 10 months.
Okay.
So you could see it at infancy because all my siblings started walking at 10 months. I didn't. And my mom started like asking around, started asking doctors, and they were like, no, she's just a late bloomer. Give her time. And then, you know, I'm 2 or I'm 3 and I'm still not walking properly. Or at the very least, I'm taking steps. Or I'm sitting down, but I'm constantly losing balance.
Okay.
So I'm constantly falling over. I'm constantly using my hands as support. So, like, my upper body, like, my arms, weirdly muscular. But my legs, you know, they weren't. And, you know, they started asking around. And they kept getting the same, she's just a late bloomer, just wait up. But after a while, they were like, okay, something's not right. So I think we first started with just checkups in Aruba itself. But we then settled, after they settled on sending me to Colombia, where they did some MRI scans, and they really just checked on my nerves because they thought that was the source of the issue. But we came out with no results. But they did predict, they were like, if you don't find anything in 1 year, we're gonna have to like take out a muscle sample.
Okay.
But we came back to Aruba, and then without Acidve, my grandma sent me to Venezuela
Okay.
for more checkups. But again, like those came out with no results.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went to Holland with Acidve again, and they were right. Colombia was right. We had to do a muscle sample, and through that muscle sample, I was like 5.
Mm-hmm.
They found out my diagnosis, which is SMA.
Okay.
And I have, in Holland, they told me it was an SMA type 2,
Mm-hmm.
but the least severity of it. So not
Okay.
yet type 3, but just type 2.
Okay, and I mean, for the people who might not have ever heard of SMA and that it, you know, has types, what is the difference of like a type 2 and type 3, and what does it mean like for you?
Well, type 1 usually doesn't make it out of infancy.
Okay.
And type 2 is wheelchair bound, but with a lot of, how do I say, medical assistance,
Okay.
like breathing assistance or eating,
Okay.
sitting up. And type 3, there are people who can still walk with type 3
Mhm.
and usually don't require a wheelchair till later on in life, and
Mhm.
usually they don't really use any extra medical assistance.
Okay. Okay, interesting. And is it something that progresses through life or?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we've now had like a little understanding of you know, who you are on a medical sense, but and I think it's important because I think most people don't know what are reasons why somebody might be in a wheelchair, and I think that's also the kind of the unknown that makes it sometimes hard for people to get out of the stigmas and the stereotypes that they might have about people in wheelchairs, because if we don't know what, you know, might be the reason, then it remains like this very foreign thing that, you know, we can't relate to. But you said something that is, I think, very relatable for parents, right? Like having a concern, like seeing something in your kid, and then having, you know, even sometimes medical professionals be like, give it some time, but that persistent gut feeling, right? Like your parents went out, but your grandparents also were like, you know, maybe we need to check a little bit more. That eventually, you know, knowing kind of makes it possible for your parents to adjust and to make the right choices to give you the resources that you need and the the whatever assistance or adjustments that you would require. What was it like growing up? What was school like? What was making friends like? It's like, what is life like?
School, at first, school didn't really let me in.
Oh no.
Especially with Peter, they really wanted you to walk.
Oh.
So I got accepted into one, but kind of got bullied.
Okay.
Even as a little Peter.
Wow.
It's just kind of crazy. So they pulled me out of that one, and then they couldn't really find one that would take in a kid that couldn't walk.
Okay.
Because I was kind of like, oh, we can't take care of that. They didn't want to mess up, which is
It's like a big
understandable.
responsibility. What do we do?
Yeah.
And by then your parents didn't know either, so it's like.
No. So they were like, okay, we'll just find a nanny. We'll just find someone to take care of her for now. And then Claytor is where I got in, but I was mostly being pushed in a stroller. Because at that time, again, we didn't really know the extent of it, and we just know that she gets tired quickly.
Okay.
So she has to be in a stroller. And making friends was odd. And they had a lot of questions that I also didn't know how to answer. And like in pausa, I couldn't play in the jungle gym. So I was like in a little, with the teachers playing with dolls. But also like the kids couldn't really come play with me either, because if they played a little rough for me, that it's like 10 times fold. A little bump into me could just cause into me completely falling. So they were really protective in that sense. So in Claytor Pausa, at least, I was a little bit alone. But in Bases is where I really got my first wheelchair in Tueda, electric wheelchair. So it was a new sense of freedom. So I really made friends in Bases. And after that, I went to Ipibe, to where I met Dairon. Yeah.
And how was that? Because I mean, obviously middle school and eventually high school comes with the challenges of puberty and right and everything else that's going on. It's like your self-image, the wanting to be part of a group, your friends group. What was exploring that for you like?
I had a friend already in Ipibe, so that made it quite easy.
Nice.
But it was a bit hard, because there was this whole it's in, even though obviously something's gonna be popping out. But the way I kind of went about it was, if it's not in front of me, it's not a problem.
Okay.
So there was little comments here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But again, it was like, the moment we get past this and we're in class, we're fine. And that's really how I managed Ipibe altogether.
Okay. And so I think one of the things that I thought was really nice when you brought up as a suggestion, to talk about, is the relationship aspect. And it might be a little bit confronting, and I'm sure you have been confronted with this, but I think it's one of the things where we don't talk enough about it as a society, how important building meaningful relationships are for somebody's quality of life. And meaningful relationships being, obviously friendships, but also romantic relationships. It's a huge part of life, right? But there is this almost immediate assumption that when somebody has, especially a physical impairment, because it's something that people can see and therefore they will bring in their stigmas, that's going to be a challenge, and that's going to be maybe not possible, or something that's unattainable. And therefore we also treat people we infantilize them maybe a little bit, right? And we don't treat them like adults when they become adults. You're an adult, you're 22. So what was that experience for you like? And I love that there's something that you wanted to bring up, so I do want to hear from you what it felt like to explore the dating scene, let's put it that way, and to the point where you do have a romantic relationship.
Well, it was even with my parents, where they were like, "You're not 18, you're 12.
Okay.
What are you doing?"
Okay.
When I first brought up that I might have a partner,
like a crush or something.
And they were like, "No, you're 12. You're not 18. You're not 16. You're 12." So I was like, "Okay, so that's how you see me."
Okay.
But especially with that one, I didn't really know it was gonna progress.
Okay.
And when we did start dating, I was like, "You know what you're getting into, And he did, which was surprising. I did make some things look way worse,
Okay.
like medically wise.
Okay.
And he was like, "Oh, it's just this." And
Uh-huh.
he was very relaxed about it, which was an anxiety reliever.
Mm-hmm.
But like a lot of the times with people, they think he's my like assistant or brother,
Like
or
your
dad.
giver. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So he's like, "Oh, so you're the sibling, right?" Especially at doctor's appointments. And they were like, "No, it's the partner."
So
And
it's
they're
like an
always
immediate
surprised.
assumption
Yeah.
that if they're okay. I want to ask you, and we made arrangements that if both Minouche or Daryl feel like I am being like asking random questions that they don't want to answer, they can say I want to plead a fifth. So by all means, plead a fifth if you want to. But I want to ask you though, how do you deal with that? And when I say deal with that, I don't mean like maybe like at home and on an emotional level, but like the immediate response. Like, do you use that moment to make it clear and kind of or is it like for you it's like it's not even worth it to like have this conversation? Like, what is it like when somebody makes that assumption? How do you respond? That's maybe like the better way to phrase it.
Well, I always correct them.
Okay.
Or Dylan corrects them.
Mm-hmm.
But it really depends on the person. Sometimes you can just like, and not tell.
Mhm.
But I'm kind of like, she's she's an elderly. We don't want to
Okay.
argue or,
Mhm.
it's just not how they might have been brought up,
Yeah.
but generally how they see things.
I don't know if Dad wants to chime in on this one. Like, how do you? I mean, we haven't even heard your voice, other than your name and how old you are. But like,
I mean, it's like she said, sometimes you want to correct, but sometimes it doesn't really matter because, the next time you meet them, they're going to say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Especially her, like some people see her and start talking down to her, thinking she's like
God.
mentally disabled or something.
Okay.
Or like
It's-
I'm a toddler.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be talking to me right in front of her, like she
Like
can't-
about her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It
Okay.
doesn't really make sense because just because she's in a wheelchair or something, she has
Mhm.
any mental disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
Then he always goes like, he'll always be like, she can answer that. Just
Yeah.
ask her about it.
Uh-huh. But that's and I do appreciate the way you said that that you are also aware that it might have to do with age and how people were brought up, and the way you say that like you also kind of see somebody and then you kind of make a conscious decision like, am I gonna fit into this conversation or not? And I appreciate that because I can imagine that sometimes it can be frustrating. But that you're also able to understand that it's not like an individual thing, but that it's societal, right? Like, I don't even want to say like 10, 20 years ago. It's like the shift of perspective has been so much even within like, your lifetime. So now imagine like, older people's lifetime, like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that you say that you have that kind of patience. But let's talk a little bit about that, about the assumption that that it's almost like it doesn't compute that would be a significant other, right? When you when you said you didn't know that it was going to progress into like a romantic relationship, but eventually it did. What was it like for you guys, between like even your peers and stuff, to introduce yourselves as such, right, as an item? What was if anything, or was it for your peers like, oh, that we knew? What was it like to have those conversations with people around you?
Well, we started dating like at the end of school. At the end of school.
Okay.
So like at our last year, we started dating, and COVID was about to hit, so we were about to be home.
Uh-huh.
So, and also we weren't like publicly affectionate yet at school either.
Okay.
So we were kind of keeping it hushed,
Mm-hmm. It's new. I get it.
But yeah, there were some kids that already knew about it, and I was like, how? And it was,
It's the eyes. It's always the eyes.
but it was so So when I introduced him to my parents, they were like, they didn't really understand how I was gonna progress, or if he understood, disabilities and how my disability works.
Mm-hmm.
But when I to my friends, they were like, yeah, finally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we knew. They understood it.
You mentioned that Darren was like very chill when he actually got to experience certain things with you, that you maybe might have felt like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be like maybe a burden, or maybe that's gonna be like a very tough thing to deal with. Do you feel that maybe it's also part of like how society might make people who have needs feel? Like, do you feel that not just like with him as a romantic partner, but like maybe with friends and stuff, where you feel like if we're gonna do something, and we talked about this with Jean-Marc too, that he also had to go through a shift of like, no, if I want to go hang out with my friends, I'm gonna go hang out with my friends, and if we're gonna go to dinner and that means that one of my friends need to help me with like eating, that you're okay with that, and that it's not like a burden. It's like your friends choose to hang out with you, right? Do you feel like maybe you also portrayed your situation as like something super heavy, or something like almost like dreadful, but because it's like maybe a form of I want to say maybe not masking, but almost like guarding yourself for disappointment? Like where do you think that comes from?
I don't know. With friends, I always kind of lay things down.
Okay.
Like, strictly like.
Mm-hmm.
And if we ever made plans, I always asked if there was a ramp.
Mm-hmm.
And I always have to make sure that I have to have my own ride.
Mm-hmm.
I can't ride with you guys. Or
Okay.
if we do this, you have to understand that I have to be here.
Mm-hmm.
So it was my normal.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. If they weren't gonna accommodate, then I wasn't gonna go.
Mm-hmm.
But it did. It was much more prevalent in classes because getting invited to birthday parties, I was like, I want to go, like hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then going home, they're like, what are you gonna do there?
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be a jungle gym. What are you gonna do? And I was like, oh, you're kind of right.
Mm-hmm.
Like how am I gonna go? But with Didon, it was. I don't think it was more guarding. It was just the way I see, like, oh, why would someone deal with this?
Mm-hmm.
When they could just go for someone abled.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really where it stemmed from. It was like my insecurity of being disabled.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, this is like, you won't need this. You won't need to do this with someone that's abled.
Mm-hmm.
So why would you? But he was like, no, he understood from the get-go.
So I almost want to ask you that, like the same questions that she just laid out, and not in like in a like interrogative way, but in a hopefully inspiring way, because I think that that when we think of meaningful relationships, be it friendships or romantic ones, we kind of put like obstacles first, right? Like, how much work is this gonna be, and like, is this work worth it, yes or no? And so of course, Minouche's brain, but I think a lot of people's brains will be like, why would I even start to invest energy in like possibly developing something if I already know that it's gonna come with some baggage? Maybe I don't even know the extent of it, but so my question to you is like, what was going on in your mind? And you can just answer something super cheesy like, I just fell in love, but but like, because I do want people to understand that this is it's a human interaction, and at the end of the day, like, it's not about like abilities or disabilities. It's
I mean, like you said, it was very cheesy. I liked her.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a pretty big guy, so it's like, whatever happens, I got
this.
this.
It's like carrying her, not a problem. I saw that today. But did you feel like people around you, did people, and maybe you by all means do feel like pleading the fifth anytime, but were people around you, like, did people around you question you for that choice as well? Like, because I also feel that I was in Greece earlier this year at a training about disabilities and medical models and social models and stuff like that, and one of the trainers, she's with somebody who's also a wheelchair user, and she said the same thing, right? When she's with him, the assumption is that she's like, I don't know, his nurse or whatever, and but also the scrutiny that she gets, like in private, maybe like from friends, from family, even sometimes, like, why do you do this, or why would you want to do that? Is this something that you experienced as well?
I mean, usually with my family, they were very supportive of us
That's nice.
dating. They even threatened me if I ever break your heart. You know?
Oh wow, I love that.
But no, even my friends tend to be supportive. Maybe like acquaintances or something.
Yeah.
Said a few things, but when it came to close family and friends, no, they were pretty supportive.
That's nice. What would you tell people out there who, you know, might find themselves in a situation where they're like, I don't want to limit myself to, you know, not maybe getting to know somebody because they're not able-bodied. How can you encourage people to see, you know, people who might be in wheelchairs, but also with other impairments, you know, if they're hard of hearing, if they're like visually impaired, to see people for who they are and not see like that first. Like, how can you, if you can?
I don't know. For me, usually when I say I love someone, it's because I mean I love them. I'll do everything for them.
Mhm.
Maybe for other people it's different, but usually if I said I loved her,
Mm-hmm.
it means I love every part of her, even the downsides. Isn't that usually love?
Mm-hmm.
Where, because no love has no only upsides. So for you to say, oh, I want to love her, but she's disabled, do you really love her?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you just like liking her at the moment?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, usually I would say, if you do like someone, go for them. But if you feel like, oh, I don't want to do that, then maybe you don't really like love them
Mm-hmm.
as you should have.
And then maybe also like be honest with yourself, because I think that that's something that you said is having that awareness that like, how do I really feel about this person, but also like, how do I feel about myself and like the situation, right? Because I
Yeah.
think that most of us know what we can and can't handle, but we're just not honest about it a lot of times, right? And the way that you said is like, I knew that, you know, something like her physical impairment was not going to be an issue, and it also had to do with you knowing yourself and like your abilities, you know. But and I appreciate you saying that, and that you mentioned that you have a very supportive family, but yeah, you still kind of face like this question mark, right? When random people just make assumptions that you could not be like her partner, right? Whereas if you see any other adult couple walking into a medical appointment or anywhere, the assumption then of course will be that it is a couple, right? Because
Yeah.
you don't assume that other adults will maybe come in with their sibling or something. So you know, it's nice that you're still able to focus on the good part of it. Is there anything that you feel like you would want to share, Darren, about, you know, just being in love and learning through this process as well? Because I'm sure that it has been a learning process. It's a, you know, it is a medical condition. I think that people underestimate what it's like to love somebody who has any form of chronic condition. What has that learning curve been for you? Does it make you like more empathetic towards other people as well?
Yeah, after dating Minouche, I got more empathetic to people that say wheelchair or like other disabilities.
Yeah.
But usually it's more like taking it a day at a time. So learning new things, learning new techniques.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, that's about how it's been, just learning.
Okay. Thanks. Darren is like, I'm a little nervous here. So Minouche, what else is something that you want to share about? You were on a riff last week.
Oh yeah.
And so I asked you, I asked you a couple weeks ago, like maybe, you know, if you would want to do this. You were a little nervous at the beginning. Maybe you're still a little nervous. It's okay. But we talked about it, and then we managed to set a date. And Riff is like a very Aruban activity, and everybody who has been to a riff or like to Palm Island or something, you know that usually they are not very developed, right? They don't have like great infrastructure, but also getting there requires getting on a boat. What drives you to like participate at in these type of activities, and what is it like when you do decide to enjoy that as well?
It's a family tradition.
Okay.
So we go with like the entire family on
Mhm.
the island, and the boat in the beginning, I didn't have a manual wheelchair, so I just had the electric. So we
Oh.
had people bench the wheelchair in the boat,
Oh my gosh.
and then go and take it to the island and bench it out of the boat again. And the wheelchairs are heavy. They have
Yeah.
full-on batteries in there. So it started off with you get on and you're not getting off until the last day. And if you want to get off halfway through, you're not getting back on because
Yeah,
you're not
yeah.
relifting that wheelchair back in the boat. And it was terrifying. Your only source of mobility is in the middle of the ocean, in
Yeah.
a sense, So
Mhm.
it's terrifying. But, it's really planned out. After I got a manual wheelchair, it was easier.
Mm-hmm.
But it did come with some sacrifice. I only could be pushed around.
Mm-hmm.
But
mm-hmm.
it relieves the anxiety of that's my expensive wheelchair in the
Yeah,
middle of the
yeah,
ocean. But it really just started off as a family tradition, and then we kept continuing it. Mostly for me, but like we really want to do it for her. And
does Darren get to go now too?
mhm.
Yeah, I was one of few people's benching that wheelchair.
Oh, you were one of those. Got it. But I think that's I love how you said that. But you mentioned something interesting that maybe the rest of us might not think about when we go to the Riff, even if it's for a couple of days. I mean, now you have your manual wheelchair, so it's much easier to carry around. But the fact that you also knew it's like, okay, I'm getting on this island. I cannot decide halfway through that I want to get off. Those are little things that other people might not think about, right?
Yeah.
The sense of like feeling like you have like that autonomy and that freedom to just be like, I want to go now.
Mhm.
But for you, it requires a little bit more planning, especially
Yeah.
when you go somewhere remote like that. How do you express, even within the constraints of like, let's say you're using your manual wheelchair today, and that requires somebody to help you, or you're in your electric wheelchair, but that also requires mobility in the sense of like transportation and stuff like that. How have you managed to feel autonomous in your decisions and be able to communicate like, this is what I want to do and I would like to go now, or I would like to leave now? How has that been, finding your voice in that sense?
I usually try to like stay the whole week. 'Cause it's like you only do this once a year.
Okay.
We can handle
Mhm.
it. But like with the manual wheelchair, it's just mostly me bossing around who's pushing me.
Okay.
It's really just that. It's like, okay, I want to go there now.
Uh-huh.
And if they say no,
I think you have to though.
Yeah, no. Like mostly it's my friends or dad on pushing me
Uh-huh,
as
uh-huh.
well. So there's like this cheeky little like guilt tripping we do to each other as well. It's very like casual
love
about
it.
it. Like
Yeah.
if someone overhears the conversation, they go, "Whoa!" Like,
Uh-huh.
it's like,
They
is
might-
he okay right now? But no, it's just very normal,
Mhm.
And they understand as well. They're like, "Oh, you want to go over there?" I'm like, okay, I guess I gotta do this.
Uh-huh.
But with Didon especially, like, especially when like if I go shopping or if I want to
Mhm.
go here, it's just kind of like,
You gotta take me.
you gotta take me. What are you gonna say no?
But that is that's nice that because that is why they're your friends, right? And the people around you, and it's not like oh my gosh, I should be ashamed. It's like, you are my friends, I'm in a wheelchair, you gotta help me out. So when you go shopping, what is that like? I want to know. I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with shopping. Can be too busy. I sometimes want to try things on. I sometimes do not want to try things on. Like it's a very weird relationship I have with shopping. What is your relationship with shopping? What is it like? I mean, it's such a stereotypical girly thing to do,
Yeah.
you know. But it's we all do it at some point. So what is shopping like with you? I want to know.
It started with just my sister going, "You wanna go shopping?"
Okay.
And I was like, "How are we gonna do that?"
Okay.
But with my sister, she was really like she grew up with me,
Okay.
you know. So she tried her hardest to make me feel included or, you know, normal.
Mm-hmm.
Like she would drag me to a jungle gym if we were ever to eat at like McDonald's. Yeah.
Okay.
And she's like scrawny. She's not even like that older than me. She's only 3 years older than me. So she's literally pulling, and I said to my dead weight over the jungle gym to just push me down.
It's
on,
like,
like a
we are
2-second
going to
slide.
play here.
Yeah, just to like push me down like a 2-second slide.
I love that
You
though.
know, that's how it usually was.
She just had a life-size doll almost, like.
That's like, you know, like almost 2 times heavier than her, but hey, she did it. And like especially shopping now, it's like I'm gonna have to wait for the wheelchair accessible changing room
Okay.
because there's always somebody in there that's not.
Really?
Yeah.
But isn't that like also like a thing with the store itself? I mean,
Yeah.
because most stores, for you to go use the changing room, there's like somebody like guarding the changing room almost, you know, like the person that helps out, and they will eventually like let go. So it's just a question. We do not have to name names, okay? I just want to know. So if you're in a queue, let's say there is a line, like a little line, for the changing room, do you feel like people acknowledge like, okay, we are not gonna let somebody else go into the accessible changing room,
I
and
think
we
once
need
they
to,
see me,
yeah?
yeah.
Okay, and then they kind of let you go to use it.
Yeah. But I've had like instances where they were using it as a storage room.
Oh,
They have like racks of clothing in there, and they were like, "Give us a second, we gotta clean it out." So I'm just waiting in the queue while they're pulling out like, you know, excess stuff from there.
uh-huh. Wow. Okay, I didn't even think about it like that. Okay. And
But
and what do you do then? You're just like, okay, I'll wait, or
Yeah.
like,
I'm very passive in that sense.
okay,
But when I'm with like other people, they like, especially with my sister,
yeah.
she would definitely complain to them. Or if I'm with friends, you know, they would be like loudly complaining as
Mhm.
well. But I let it slide. It's not that big of a deal in the way I see it. I'm in, I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just like an understanding and just having patience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you said complain, but it can also be like a form of advocacy, right? Like what they're doing, and where maybe they see this more often, and they just want to, maybe educate a person who might not, maybe under other circumstances, have had the opportunity to understand what is happening or why, you know, having access is important. But it's nice to hear that you get to have like these experiences, and that your sister was kind of like the
Yeah.
which, because I feel like that's also something you would do with your sister, right? Like
Yeah.
go shopping and like have that experience, and that you were not deprived of that experience because of your condition. I think that that's a very nice thing. And how are your parents? I love that you said that you have a family tradition that seems like, you know, a little like hassly, but they're like, we're gonna do it. What was growing up like, and just trying to navigate, I suppose, life in Aruba?
My parents were very protective, especially my mom. Because I got sick really easy. You know,
Okay.
Like, I was looking with like autoimmune disease, I
Mhm.
with scoliosis. So she was very adamant of keeping me safe.
Okay.
And I was reckless. I didn't understand. You know, I wanted, like, let's say on Riff, I wanted to stay in the ocean till nighttime.
Uh-huh.
You know, and she's like, you're gonna get sick.
Yeah.
They can do it. You know, why aren't they
Mhm.
getting sick? But growing up, they were very careful. They're very wary as well about my friends and people coming in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it was like a new normal after a while. They had to get accustomed, but it just became our family's new normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is, right?
It is.
Because what is normal is just what you know, and that is what your family knows. So, Minouche, what is something that we might not have talked about, but you would really want to share?
Mm. I went to Holland twice,
Mm-hmm.
and the first time was to get that muscle sample.
Mm-hmm.
The second time was for a scoliosis surgery,
Okay.
which is for a infusion, no, back fusion.
Were
It's
they?
basically realigning your
Mhm.
spine, and that was the cause of also eczema.
Okay.
Because as your back will get weaker, so it won't be able to support the spine.
Okay.
So eventually I started, going into a curve,
Mm-hmm.
and it was very, like, right on time with the surgery as well,
Okay.
because my spine was pressing my lungs against my ribcage,
Oh no.
and it was degrading them. So now I'm at like 37%.
I think around there.
Yeah, around 37% of my lungs working.
Wow.
So it was like right on time.
Mhm.
I had my doctor, Rafaela Cruz, really pushing for that surgery. And it was, you kind of had to relearn how to sit or turn.
After
or,
that surgery.
Yeah. Especially with like, you're in constant pain,
Mm-hmm.
right? Before and after. And the after part was, you want to go back to school, you're going to have to learn how to sit for long periods of hours without laying back down. And I had to be out of school for like 3 months.
Wow.
And thankfully I still passed. But after that, it was kind of hard to find school again. Because not only was my back an issue now, but also like the mobility of my
Mhm.
wheelchair. Because school-wise, if we had to do small adjustments, my bosses had to do small adjustments. But after that, like, schools had to start doing big adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
I went to IPE for like a year, and there was definitely times where I was like, how did they expect me to go to my class? Because
Okay.
they put me to the second floor.
Like your
Yeah.
schedule?
Yeah. on
And
the-
it doesn't
the-
have
the
an
roster.
elevator, I'm assuming?
Nope.
Okay.
And it's like, let me go talk to the principal. Go talk to the
Mhm.
principal, and they're like, we'll fix it next time. And I'm like, okay, great. Still missed my class.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I also had issues with like assistants, because I do need in-class assistants.
Okay.
I had one like this, like an assistant from Clater
Mhm.
till like my last year of IPB.
Wow. That is so nice.
And
So did you have like a bond with this person?
yeah, we were very close.
Okay.
And like after that, I turned 16, so they kind of saw me as, you legally you don't have to continue school.
Got it. Because
So-
of that's like the leerplicht
Yes.
age it ends.
And I also went to Holland at that same time,
Uh-huh.
so I kind of lost that assistant. They had
Oh,
to
no.
like put her somewhere else. So when I came back, I had to find a new one in a sense. And
oh my gosh, wow.
when I came back, I couldn't really wait until I get a new one, so I was calling up cousins, like, can you come to school with me? For help?
Really?
Yeah, I ended up going with like friends, cousins, I had to
Anybody
run them
who-
through the
who
principal
could?
first.
Really?
like-
Every single time?
Yeah,
Like,
like saying like, yeah, I don't have an assistant yet. I have to go to class. This is my assistant for the day. And then I found I had a cousin who was willing to stay with me for the duration, and they had to sign a contract with the school and everything. And it was fun, my cousin in class with me.
yeah.
But afterwards in IPE, it became a bigger issue
Okay.
because they were. I
So at
wouldn't say-
APB, like after you turned 16, they found a way. They were like, okay, like we're gonna allow you to have your cousin, like somebody.
Yeah.
But they allowed you to like continue your education, which I think is nice to hear that the school was willing, but also that you wanted it so much that you found a way, but also that somebody who's in your life that was like not their job or whatever, they're like, we'll do this. Like we'll figure this out. I'll become your assistant.
Yeah. And then, I had to go to another school.
Mm-hmm.
And still didn't have an assistant at that time. So we juggled through cousins, friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a friend who like recently got out of that school, so they were like, what are you doing here? Like why are you back?
Yeah.
And there they put up a bit more of a fight. They were like, we can't have you like bringing in someone different every time. And by that time I was dating Dairon. So I was like, here's an idea. Put him in my class.
Yeah.
He knows what I need.
Because he was also going.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay.
And then they were like, oh, like then they asked the question. They were like, what is he from, like, of you? And I was like, that's my partner. And they go, okay, we're not putting him in your class. And we were like fighting them. We were like, but I don't have an assistant. I
And
can't come
he
to
could,
school.
yeah.
We are in the same class, so he can take the notes from me, take my
Yeah.
books out. It's not hard work.
No, and then
Oh, okay, technically it's, but it's not.
no, but I mean, you already would want to spend time together. So then eventually, like, if you could study together and stuff like that, it would just kind of make that process. I don't know what the rules about this is, schools, if you're listening and you want to, like, chime in on this, okay? So I'm just giving a perspective from, like, a human point of view. I'm sorry.
But we were in the same class, getting the same classes.
Mm-hmm.
But we not same class. Like, we were in the
Same grade.
But we weren't in the same class. And we were like, if you put him in my class, he knows, take my books out, help me with food, help me with drink, help me with, everything that I would need an assistant to do. But they were like, you guys are gonna make out in class.
Sorry, I almost spit out my coffee because I feel like that's such a, like, almost like immature assumption of people in education. And also, like, again, I am not bashing on any schools, but I feel like the age group at that school, it's like we're not like 13, 14-year-old, like, teenagers who have just figured out, like, what making out feels like, right? It's like like how is that like a serious concern? How is that a bigger concern than, like, allowing you to have an education? Like, I'm sorry, what? Okay, so continue.
Then we found an assistant.
Okay. That the
was
school approved of?
Yes.
Okay, good. Mhm.
But it was short-lived.
Oh no.
I was like, I don't want to continue in economy.
Okay.
So I got out of the school, and then I only had an APB diploma.
Mhm.
And in a sense, I couldn't go to work with just an APB diploma.
Mhm.
So I went to go do my MAVO at Landseksame,
Mhm.
which was really nice. You only go for the exams.
Okay.
So when you don't have the mobility
Mhm.
to, like, to go to class every day and only showing up for exam, it was really accommodating.
Okay.
In a sense.
And I mean, it is a lot of, like, you have to study on your own, but
Yeah.
but that was okay for you, like.
It was okay.
Okay.
But I did know, like, for HAVO, I couldn't do that.
Okay.
Because you require, there's new things. And with MAVO, you could
Like, you felt like you could wing it almost a little bit.
You could tackle it with a diploma, but with HAVO,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no, I can't do that on my own.
Okay.
So we were searching again for a new
Mhm.
school after I passed that. And we were in between two schools. But now I started with Edu Campus.
Ooh,
It's
nice.
completely online.
Okay.
And, they help you as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they were super accommodating.
So it's nice to hear that there are, I think, more options nowadays than there were
definitely now.
back. Even if I think of, like, when I was, like, your age or, like, even a little bit younger, I think there are more options now. So I think that's nice. But I also think it's nice how you thought about it. Like, I need to continue my education. I would want to work. And so what do I need to achieve that, right?
Yeah.
Because that also might be an assumption from people looking from the outside that, it's like, why are you going to look for work? Or, like, why are you even thinking in those terms? But I think it's just, like, a very natural thing to be aspiring at your age, right? So what are your hopes, like, when you finish Edu Campus? What is your ideal of, like, what that looks like, finishing Edu Campus, and what would be next?
Next is university.
Do you want to go here, the University of Aruba?
I'm considering it here.
Mm-hmm.
And if I really want to go out, like, to Holland or
Mhm.
study abroad, I'm considering my master's
Okay.
abroad.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. But I really want to, I want to start working,
Okay.
I went through the process of trying to find a job
Okay.
before, and it was a little hectic,
Yeah.
Had a lot of dumb questions.
During interviews and
yeah.
stuff. Do you want to share some? Just
Um,
because, I mean, just so whoever's listening, don't ask those questions.
They were like, oh, we didn't think you were, they would see the witch and go, but can you still walk?
Okay.
And I was like, no, can't walk. And they're like, oh, I don't think our thing, like, our
Position.
position is accessible. And
Okay.
I understood it. I was like, I completely understand. But they continued to interview, and I was like, okay.
Like, you already told me.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And they were like, we don't have any other positions to offer you. And I think they were feeling guilty about
Yeah,
it
yeah.
not being accessible, but I was like, I was understanding. And then they were like, it must be really hard, huh, to find a job.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, But it was, I had to give up on finding a job. And especially with, honestly, I won't be able to go full-time immediately either,
Mhm.
because,
But now you're also like going to school, so I mean, yeah.
not only with school, but I get tired out very
Okay.
quickly. If something were to happen, I
Mhm.
would need someone to help me.
Mm-hmm.
So there was also a period of me having to understand that.
Okay.
I also thought, I could just go work full time.
Mm-hmm.
But the more I tried and the more I thought about it, I was like, if we get tired out, what are we gonna do? So it was understanding that we can't really settle for a job.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta continue on and get a broader, like, what did I say? An accessible education.
Yeah, yeah.
Because again, when I was little, I wanted to do fashion design and wanted to do this and this and this. But the older I got, the more understanding I also got of myself and understood my disability and my capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
So not that I had to give up on those dreams, but I
Mm.
had to know that couldn't be my main
Got it.
job or my main thing that I have to do, because it's going to be very slow or very
Mm-hmm.
very slow and hard for me to do, because something that takes someone else an hour to do might take me 5.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, why would they? So it was understanding, and then trying to find a direction where I wanted to study in
Mm-hmm.
that is also accommodating and I could do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to hear that you continue to think in those terms, that you continue to think in the terms of like, I understand, that it's indeed your capabilities, but also the limitations imposed by the system, in the sense of like, maybe in other countries or maybe in like some companies, something that is inaccessible will be accessible somewhere else. And that you're also patient with that, maybe by the time that you are done with like your university, there will be more accessible workplaces and you will have more choices than you might have at this moment. So it's also understanding that there's like a progression, and the understanding, but that you take your time to do what you want to do, but also still with like, your focus of like wanting that in the future. So I like that. So I'm looking at the time. So I want to ask you, Dairon, before we close off, if there is something that you thought about during our conversation that you might want to mention, or that you feel like maybe we didn't mention it, but that you want people to know or to understand.
I just feel like there was this one experience, remember, with the doctor, where he told you that you were gonna die young, which was also a negative experience because
Okay.
her surgery
Mm-hmm.
got denied because the doctor kept going, "Oh, you're gonna die young. Why does it matter?"
Mm-hmm.
So that was a very bad experience right there.
She was like, she's going to be bedridden anyways, the older she gets.
Oh.
So there was one of them that didn't really push for a
Mhm.
scoliosis surgery, which is why it got to the severity that it did.
Got it.
I also had like you mentioned, I had how do you say it? They gave me like, not a deadline. That's a terrible way to say it.
Like an estimate
Yeah,
of,
an estimate of
yeah.
my life estimate, which I think was going to be 16 or 18.
Okay.
I think it was 50.
Yeah, somewhere along those lines.
Like teenage.
Yeah, and it was really a problem because she said that in front of me to my
Okay.
parents. So
Okay. And you were like much younger?
Yeah, like way younger.
Okay.
But I forgot about it. And my sister reminded me a couple years ago, like, hey, you're supposed to die. And I forgot completely about it. And I was like, oh, right.
But here I am, right?
Yeah.
But Darren, I do want to ask you though, do you feel that by the doctor saying that, or like having like that stance, does it take away from maybe how she might be treated in a way that contributes to like a better quality of life? Like, do you feel like maybe if if people didn't have that idea in their head, that they would provide her with like more opportunities or something. Like, is that what you're feeling?
I feel like, yeah, because
Mhm.
as soon as you set a deadline or something,
Yeah.
as you said, you're automatically cutting off most things. You're like, why waste the money on her if she's not even gonna
Mhm.
make it?
So, and I think that's a very important component, right? And I do come from the medical bubble, and I do understand that there is like, you know, where they win options and stuff. But I think that we have to move towards understanding that no matter how long somebody might be here, that they should still have a good life. And the idea of like, and this is also part of like why we're having this conversation, right? That you have the right to a fulfilling life, and to have the support and access to that fulfilling life, and not that it's being determined by somebody else how fulfilling or how good it should or shouldn't be. So I think that's a nice contribution, Dairon. Thank you so much for bringing that up. I think it's a good thing to keep in mind. Minouche, is there something else that you might want to leave us with as we close off this episode?
I don't think so.
You know, maybe an advice to a younger person who might be in a similar situation as yours.
To have patience,
Okay.
but to also understand when they're taking it too far. You know, the way they treat you with accessibility,
Okay.
and to understand that that's, you know, you're normal, and it might not be someone else's normal, but it's yours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you so much for having this conversation with me this Saturday morning. I appreciate it so much. I also want to say shout out to Kay, who suggested Minouche as a guest. I appreciate that. We discuss these topics almost on the daily. So to be able to meet new people through that is also nice. So it's really nice meeting you today, Minouche. And you, Dairon, of course. All right, so if you caught this episode towards the end and you have no idea what we're talking about, or like why we're talking about these things, or why we're talking in English, you can rewatch and re-listen to this episode on Cool FM's YouTube and Facebook. You can also find this episode during the week on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I hope that this episode gave you a different perspective. I love that Minouche is a young adult and just experiencing life as a young adult. And I hope that we realize that, you know, life is a little bit more than just what happens in our bubble. So yes, do let me know if you have any questions about this episode or previous episodes. You can always send me a message on Instagram, which is where I am most responsive. But you can also leave a comment on the live streams on YouTube or on Facebook, and I will look at them and try to reply. If not, I'll just send the question over to Minouche and be like, Minouche, can you answer this question? Do let me know if you want to hear something specific in the coming weeks. I do have some interesting episodes as we prepare for the new school year. I want to talk about the pressure that we put on children and youth to perform at school, especially at a younger age, and what it kind of does to you know, their self-esteem and how they feel about school in general. So I will be talking to a psychologist about this. Shout out to Rocheline de Cuba. And we will also be talking about bullying and how to sort of recognize when, especially at the beginning of the school year, when you can hopefully tackle it, when a child is being singled out, when a child is, you know, maybe being bullied or discriminated. I think it's very important for us to be aware and not to let it get to a point where it's too much. But if there is anything else that you think that we should be talking about around the new school year or around, you know, and anything else, I mean, doesn't have to be about the school year, but if you think that there are important topics to be talked about, do let me know. Send me a message. Thank you to my awesome sponsors for allowing me to talk about whatever I want to talk about. Today I talked about how Minouche lives a fulfilling life. And I hope it was a nice conversation to you too. Thank you to La Roche-Posay. Thank you to Total. Thank you to Gain, and of course to Cool for giving me the space to have these conversations. I will see you again next week. And be nice, be kind, enjoy your vacation if you are on vacation. And if you're not, let the people enjoying their vacation enjoy their vacations. Do not text them and send them emails. I'm just kidding. I don't know if my boss is listening. Anyways, I'm not on vacation. She is, and I hope I can let her enjoy it and not send her too many texts and emails while she is away. All right, guys. See you next week. Bye. I'm Carolina, and I am the host of Sincerely Carolina, a series of educational conversations about current social issues with local and international experts. Make sure you tune in every Saturday on Cool FM from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m.